Hey y'all, it's Lola the Manager, your new favorite project manager, tech junkie, and entrepreneur. This is episode 24 of Life as a Project Manager. In today's video, we'll be talking about the difference between project manager and scrum master, two significant roles in the project management industry. And though they may overlap, they are different, and we're going to get to it. There are some key differences in these two roles, and it all comes down to their focus, their methodology, their authority, their responsibilities, their time frame, and their team interaction. Let's get to it. So when we look at focus, what is a Scrum Master focused on and what is a project manager focused on? So the Scrum Master is focused on facilitating the Scrum process and team improvement. Those are the key things that they worry about. Where the project manager, they want to focus on the overall project delivery and management. What does that even mean? Now, y'all know I just can't jump into all the details without telling you what Scrum is, because we're not going to sit here and act like you even know what that means, okay? So Scrum is a set of practices, values, and principles that guide teams through the development of products and services. And you typically see this in like software and product development. In short, there's a way, a framework you may hear, in which teams come together in order to develop a product. These teams are using a variety of different tools and meetings so that they can self-organize and learn from their experiences. So we're not so focused on the documentation. We just want to kind of come together and see what is everyone's skills, what are we good at, what can we focus on so that we can put out what is known as the minimum valuable product, meaning we want to put out an amazing product, but we want to utilize the least amount of resources possible and put what makes the most sense so that we can gather feedback and then come back, make some adjustments and improvement. I know I'm going fast, but I want to give like an overview, but make it quick. And in these type of environments, you are going to adapt to change really fast. You're going to make sure that whatever you deliver is actually efficient. So when we say minimum valuable product, we're talking about, we want to create something that is actually functional so we can gather data, feedback, results from people that use it so we can now make it better. We're not going to make a basic mock-up. We are going to make the real thing as best as we can with just enough functionality so that people can use it and we can learn from that experience. And in this space, there's a lot of different ceremonies that take place within the team. There's a lot of different artifacts. Artifacts are pretty much, the different things that they actually produce. There are different roles and responsibilities in there. And then we're kind of just focused on iterative and incremental practices. So we're not trying to create the final product because we don't want to invest all this time, money, and effort into doing the whole thing only to find out that we didn't really need to do all that. So if we can kind of produce just enough to get it out in increments, then we can go back to the drawing board, make some improvements, put it back out there, get some more feedback and all that stuff. So I kind of had to share all that just to make sure that you had a baseline of Scrum. There are some really good books out there on Scrum. Highly recommend. You'll find them in my Amazon storefront. Now let's get back to what the Scrum Master is actually focused on when it comes to this Scrum process. So as I stated before, the Scrum Master's primary focus is the Scrum process itself and team improvement. They ensure that the Scrum principles and practices are understood by all members of the team and are being effectively implemented. The goal is to optimize the team's performance within the Scrum framework, fostering continuous improvement and self-organization, right? So the Scrum Master, you're just kind of making sure that everybody knows what's going on, they understand their role, and then you are going to kind of position yourself as a coach to make sure the team has everything they need to produce their best work, everything they need to win this game. If you think about how sports work, there are multiple games in a season that you need to play. And so with Scrum Masters are coaching and making sure we have everything we need for game one. Then we're going to go back and see what we need to improve so that we're better prepared for game two. Now, a project manager's focus is actually broader, encompassing the entire project from initiation to closure. They are concerned with delivering the project on time, within budget, and meeting the specific requirements, i.e. are in scope. Their attention is on coordinating all aspects of the project, including resources, stakeholders, and deliverables. So right now you can already see that there's a significant difference in what these two people are focused on. We have the Scrum Master that's really focused and concerned on the specific project team and how we can do our best work in this game, focused on this specific game, not focused on the end goal, not focused on all the budgets and the full planning and all that stuff. We're just focused on what the team has in front of them. What can we do to create something that's functional? So we're solely focused on the team. And if we focus on the team, we could continue to improve not just within the team and how we work and how we function, but also in the actual product that we're trying to put out there. Whereas the project manager, they're kind of looking at this project as a whole, and they are concerned with budgets. They are concerned with a lot of documentation, the whys of this project. Why are we doing this project? And what is the ultimate goal of this project? And trying to figure out who's going to work on the project. Like, you're doing so much, whereas the Scrum framework is kind of tunnel vision. Like we only want to focus right here. We don't have all these team members. We have this intimate project team in which we are focused on doing the work. So not so much on all the steps necessary to get the work done. We want to do the work. That's one of the key things you'll see when it comes to the difference between project manager and Scrum Master. Their focus. They're looking at two different things. Next up is the methodology. So the Scrum Master has a very specific methodology, and it is focused on Agile and Scrum practices, frameworks, thoughts, theories, etc. Whereas the project manager, they actually can work across various project management methodologies. Let's talk about it. So when we say Scrum Master, right, their focus is Agile methodologies, specifically the Scrum framework, right? So Agile would be this big umbrella, and Scrum would be something very specific underneath that umbrella. These people are experts in Scrum principles and practices, and their entire approach is literally centered around facilitating this specific framework. Like, this is their zone of genius. So they may not be able to kind of navigate the other spaces in which a project manager would be able to function. So with project managers, their methodologies are extremely versatile because there are so many different types of project management methodologies. You have the traditional one, like the waterfall / predictive. That's where you see people kind of have the beginning to the end and all the steps in between, and they will not do the next thing without completing the previous thing. So that's kind of what that is, where you get the concept of a waterfall. Then you have the agile methods and hybrid models where there's way more flexibility, not that much documentation. It's not necessarily process driven. It's way more flexible and way more willing to adapt to change. Then you might hear stuff like the Prince 2, you might hear stuff like Six Sigma. All these different types of frameworks kind of fall under the space of project management. It really just depends on what company you're actually working for and what they desire. However, it would be easier for a project manager to navigate these different spaces because of the similarities within them. Whereas the Scrum Master, they have tunnel vision. They're only focused on that one thing. And project managers, because they're so versatile in what they know and the different methodologies, they actually are able to adapt to whatever is necessary for the specific project. As a project manager, you can have experience in Agile and Scrum practices. So then now, if your company or the team that you are being assigned to has that type of project, you can focus on that. And then if there's another project where, hey, we need waterfall focused, you can transition there smoothly. Whereas someone that's just specifically niched down to the Scrum world, they won't be able to do that as seamlessly. Next, we're going to go into authority. So a Scrum Master is viewed as a servant leader with no direct authority over the team. Whereas the project manager, they are often viewed as like the formal authoritative figure in the project, and they kind of have some type of decision-making power. So let's let's deep dive into that one a little bit. So the reason why they call Scrum Masters a servant leader is because they are there to serve their team. They're leading through serving. They're extremely team focused. And in order for the team to win, our leader needs to make sure that our team has whatever they need. And they're doing that through serving, through ensuring that you have whatever resources, whatever blockers are in your way, whatever it is that you need in order to score that touchdown or catch that pass or do whatever it is, that Scrum Master is there for you. And that's where they get the term servant leader from. And they do not have direct authority over the team members, and they honestly don't have the ability to make decisions for the team. Instead, what they're doing, and this is why you keep hearing me reference sports, is they're coaching, they're facilitating, they're removing obstacles, right? And this is how they influence the team, but they do not necessarily, quote unquote, run the show. So a good servant leader or a good Scrum Master, if you're operating in your zone of genius, you're able to get buy-in from your team based on how you're able to kind of coach, facilitate, remove blockers and stuff like that. That's where you'll have some type of authority in being able to do that for your team. And since their power comes from their knowledge and understanding of Scrum, they're able to guide the team and organization as a whole through its application and how to implement this and how we're actually going to make it to the finish line. Now, when it comes to project managers, traditionally, they have more authority within the project structure. They often have the power to make decisions about the resources, so resource allocation, who's actually going to be doing the work, the timelines, like what makes sense for us to get this done, as well as the project direction. So like maybe we should focus this way, or maybe we need to adjust this way. We need to kind of revisit the scope if we want to meet this deadline. And so there's authority there. And depending on the company and what type of project manager you are, maybe you're a senior project manager and you're managing people, meaning you have direct reports. You have authority over those direct reports, and you're actually held to greater accountability on the success and or failure of the project. So with project managers, you have more weight on your shoulder because this project is based on your ability to manage all aspects of it and get us to that finish line. Whereas the Scrum Master, we know that we're just going to continually work on building this and getting it out the door. And we just want you to be alongside the team to provide them the support and guidance that they need to get there. So there's not that much authority on them because, like I stated before, Scrum Masters aren't creating budgets. They're not picking the resources. They're not creating timelines. They're just like, hey, we have this sprint, which I'll highlight a little bit later, but we have this sprint. We need to have something created by the end of this sprint so that people can test and put it out there so we can make some improvements. And that's what's happening with the Scrum Master. Next, we're going to talk about the responsibilities, right? So Scrum Masters and project managers have way different responsibilities, and depending on where you work, there may be some overlap, but by definition, there's some stark contrast. So our Scrum Masters, they want to ensure Scrum practices are followed. So they're going to coach the team and the organization on these Scrum principles, because you can't follow something you don't know. They're making sure that the different Scrum ceremonies or events like the daily Scrum, sprint planning, sprint review, retrospectives, whatever the case may be, they're making sure that those events are taking place and they're being effective or engaging with them. They're doing what they're supposed to do. Next, they want to remove impediments for the team. Impediments is a big word that you'll hear when you're talking about Scrum Master. That means they're going to identify and address anything blocking the team's progress, whether it's lack of resources, organizational barriers, or interpersonal issues. So they do a lot of conflict resolution, conflict mitigation, conflict prevention, whatever it is that you're facing as a member of that project team that could potentially stop you from doing your best work. The Scrum Master is on it at all times. So much so that in their daily Scrum, that is a question that everyone must answer. What impediments are you currently facing? Because we need to nip those in the bud immediately. And lastly, they're going to facilitate meetings and improve team dynamics. As I said, they're going to ensure that all Scrum events or ceremonies, however they call it, is run smoothly. And they want to continue to work to foster a collaborative and high performing team environment. And it's so interesting, like when you look at Scrum Masters, you see that they really do take the role of a coach, and their team is really equivalent to what you see in sports, right? We need to make sure that the team environment works. If there's drama or issues going on with the team, we're not going to produce our best work. So what can we do to ensure that the team is able to resolve whatever issues are at hand so we can move forward and win the game, because we all want to win the game. Now, when it comes to project managers, you've heard me say it time and time again. Our responsibilities include the need to plan and schedule project tasks. So we're going to create and maintain the project plan. And we are using different tools like a Gantt chart or some type of project management software, some type of tracking software to monitor what's going on within the project. We're also going to manage resources and budgets. So that means we're here to allocate the human and material resources. So the people that are going to be doing the work and whatever equipment, software, technology, whatever it may be, we are gathering those. We're assessing what we need, who we need, and how we can go about getting them. And because we have these different resources, we also have a budget that we need to create, and then we need to monitor it. We're going to make adjustments to that budget throughout the project, as well as resources. We may need to adjust some of the resources, whether they be human or material, on that project. So it's just constant monitoring of those different resources and that budget. And then lastly, we're going to make sure we're always tracking overall project progress. So we're monitoring the key performance indicators, managing risks, and reporting on project status to stakeholders. So it's very straightforward when it comes to project managers. You are here from the beginning to end, and you are intertwined in every aspect of that project. Whereas our Scrum Masters, they're only focused on that team and ensuring that team can get that product out. Next up is the time frame. So Scrum Masters focus on short iterations, which we call sprints, whereas project managers, they're going to oversee the entire project lifecycle. What does that look like? What does that mean? So the Scrum Master operates within a time frame or a time box of Scrum sprints, right? And these sprints can be anywhere from 1 week to 4 weeks long. Every company, every project is different with the time frame for their specific sprints. And their focus during that time is helping the team achieve their goals within these short iterations, promoting rapid feedback and adaptation. So I just want to kind of go in a little bit here. In these Scrum ceremonies, remember, this is a team, but it's not just any type of team. It's known as a self-organizing team. So the team kind of creates goals on what is it that they want to accomplish so we can get something out that's functional by the end of this sprint. So each person takes accountability with what they are going to be able to contribute or produce in this sprint. And as the coach, as the Scrum Master, you are helping them accomplish that goal within that sprint time frame. And then when you hear the term for us to get rapid feedback and adaptation, at the end of that sprint, now we're going to come back and review as a team what our strengths and areas of improvement are as a whole. And then now we're going to kind of set some new goals to make this product that we just put out better. We're going to adjust quicker. And then when you look at the project manager, they are here for the entire duration of the project lifecycle. And that can be anywhere from a month to years. Honestly, there's projects that happen over the course of several years, and you are the project manager that is over the entire process, and you are continually monitoring, continually making adjustments, and you're attached to these projects for such a long time. Now, when it comes to the project managers, you oversee the life cycle of projects in as short as a month or a couple months, and as long as a couple years, right? Depending on the company and the type of project that's actually taking place. You're going to be involved from the initiation of this project, where it's kind of like an idea and we don't even know if it's realistic to pursue, if we can actually make this happen, all the way to the closing of it. And so because of that, there are long-term goals that we're focused on and major milestones along the way to ensure that we're making the steps and progress we need to accomplish those long-term goals. And the last thing is team interaction. So I've said this time and time again because it needs to be like beat up the side of your head. The Scrum Master coaches the team to be self-organizing and cross-functional. So with that, that means they don't assign tasks to people that know how to do the work. This is your zone of genius. You know how to do the work, okay? And you know what needs to be done. So instead of assigning specific tasks to that person and telling them, here, this is what you need to do, the Scrum Master is going to empower the team to make their own decision and commitments, fostering autonomy and shared responsibility. So if you were called to be part of the team, that means you know what you're doing and you're the expert here. And we believe that you are going to get us to the finish line. We just need you to be able to see that you can get us to the finish line. This is why we have a coach here that's going to encourage you and motivate you and remove anything that's in your way to stop you from exercising your greatness, your power. You get what I'm saying? And because you now have that ability to do that, you take more ownership of your work, you have more pride in what you're doing, and then you are more willing to take accountability and responsibility for what you're doing because this is what you said you was going to do. And even if you fall short, the beauty of iterative and incremental practices is the fact that you can now reflect on the areas of your improvement. So then now for the next sprint, you'll do better. Like that's the point, right? That's kind of like what we want to focus on. You're going to continue to do great work where you feel empowered and where you're able to kind of see, oh, these are the areas in which I need to improve. You just kind of need somebody alongside you to kind of root for you, cheer you, and kind of redirect you. But you don't need nobody telling you what to do. You already know what to do. You know how to build websites. You know how to design. You know how to build walls or whatever the project is. You know how to do that. And I need you to take ownership in that. Don't sit and wait for me to tell you how to do your job. You get what I'm saying? Now, in the project manager world, different, completely different. The project manager has a more direct role in managing the team members and the things that they need to do. So they are most likely going to assign tasks, set deadlines, and directly oversee the work progress. Now, while project management encourages collaborative approaches, the project manager is the one that kind of retains control over the team activities and decision. And the reason for that is because the project manager is held responsible for the success or failure of this project. And because of that, they need to have a little more hands in the pot to ensure work is getting done. Nothing is worse than you think someone is going to do what they're supposed to do or what they know they should be doing and they don't. And you're held responsible for them not doing that because you didn't do the work in managing them and checking in with them to make sure they can get it done. So project managers are going to have a little more hands in the pot because of that. Whereas Scrum Masters, baby, it's your world. You let me know what role you want me to play here, how I can help you, what can I remove and get out of your way. Now, that's all I have for the differences between project manager and Scrum Master. As you can see, there might be some overlap in there, but these are significantly different roles. And so when you are out there looking for jobs and you see it says Scrum Master and you're like, oh, I can do that, you really need to kind of reflect and see, can you actually do that? Can you actually be a coach and not the one that's hovering over everyone to make sure that it gets done? Are you the one that can truly bring out the best in your team as you serve them? Or are you better off over here just making sure all the things kind of get checked off and are done, right? So you kind of figure out what role you want to play. And so in different organizations, sometimes there is some overlap. Sometimes you are playing both roles. I have done that in different IT teams that I have been a part of. It's one of those things where as a project manager, I can tap into the Scrum world. However, do I consider myself someone that is an expert in it? I'm going to say, yeah. Because I know how to wear the different hats. I will say that Scrum Master is one of those certifications that I do plan to pursue. Since I already have my PMP, I do want to show that I understand Scrum. I have been able to facilitate those different ceremonies, and I know how to kind of switch on and off whichever hat I need to wear. If you are already a project manager, I do believe it is an asset for you because now you get access to other roles. But even if you're not a project manager and you just want to go the Scrum route, I would definitely do it. It's definitely a good way to get into that product development or software development type of space. And if you are someone that likes to read, because I am a book nerd at heart, okay, I love to read, I do have 2 books that I recommend for all those that are interested in learning more about Scrum. The first book is Scrum, The Art of Doing Twice the Work in Half the Time. I absolutely love this book. I've talked about it before, and I feel like this does an excellent job in explaining Scrum as a whole, your role, why it exists, where did it come from, what does it look like in practice. I think that does a good job at that. I also have this other book called Sprint. And it kind of talks about the design sprint process, but it talks about sprints in general. Remember, I told you earlier that sprints are anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks long. So in that short time frame, you're expected to have a functional product for someone to use. This does an excellent job in kind of breaking down where the whole concept of sprints came from, how they work, and how you can actually run a sprint in literally 5 days. And I've done this in real time with developing a website and developing an app prototype. And I kid you not, I was just shocked at what me and the team was able to come up with. So I highly recommend. Both of these books are in my Amazon storefront, which will be linked in the description for you to purchase. Please, please, I kid you not. If there's any book to purchase out there, it'll be these, because they do an exceptionally good job in laying the foundation of like what this actually looks like. And funny enough, I remember I got this book when I was starting with a company as an IT project manager. And I feel like I've been introduced to different things at work, but I didn't really know exactly what they were, like the thought process behind it. You know, you just get introduced to things and you just do whatever needs to get done. And so it wasn't until I actually read this book where a lot of it just started to click and make sense. If you do have a certification like a CapBum, a PMP, you do need to keep those things active. And I can advocate that this book can serve as several PDU hours for your PMP certification, because I used it as one of those things. Definitely had to throw that out there. And this is not a paid ad or anything. I'm just letting y'all know, get in them books. The books got the knowledge for you, okay? And with that said, I do want to thank you guys for watching and being part of this Life as a Project Manager series with me. I hope this was a good breakdown of Scrum Master versus Project Manager. If you're a Scrum Master, if you're a Project Manager, is this on par with what you know is true to your role? Let me know in the comments. And if you've never heard of this, let me know in the comments, because I want to make sure that we are all on the same page with the knowledge that we have and understand about this entire industry. Again, I want to remind y'all that I have my calendar open for those that are interested in one-on-ones about all things project management, or if you want to kind of solicit me to work on your project, go ahead and look at the description so you can go ahead and schedule that one-on-one, okay? And of course, as always, thank you guys for being here with me. You could be anywhere in the world, but you decided to be here to get professional development with me, and I don't take that for granted. Truly appreciate it. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and of course, subscribe to the YouTube if you haven't already at LolaTheManager. Until next time.